I never believed in the supernatural, but this story has changed my perception in ways I can't begin to explain. It all started a few months ago when I moved into a new apartment in the city. It wasn't much, just a one-bedroom with a small kitchen and a cramped bathroom, but it was affordable and the location was great for work. The only thing that made me uneasy was the fact that the apartment had been vacant for a few years before I moved in, and the landlord was strange, not unfriendly, but something about his behavior always seemed off. He would often smile a little too long when handing over the keys, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching me too closely whenever I signed paperwork, but I brushed it off as paranoia. At first, everything was normal. The apartment was old, but it had its charm. The floors creaked, the walls were thin, and the bathroom mirror was slightly fogged at the edges, as if it hadn't been cleaned properly in years. But none of that bothered me. I started settling in, getting used to the quiet. But then, strange things started happening. It began with the mirrors. I don't know why, but I found myself drawn to them. Every time I walked past the bathroom mirror, I'd catch a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye, a shadow, something that didn't quite match the rest of the reflection. I thought it was just my imagination, so I dismissed it, but the feeling lingered. It was like the mirror wasn't just reflecting the room, but something more. Then, one night, I woke up to a sound. It was faint at first, like a whisper in the distance, but it quickly grew louder. It wasn't a voice, exactly, but more like a soft murmuring, as if someone was speaking to me through the walls. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't. The sound was coming from the bathroom, just beyond the hallway. My heart started pounding as I sat up in bed, frozen. I stared toward the bathroom door. The apartment was supposed to be empty when I moved in. So why was there someone, or something, speaking in the dark? I was too scared to check, but I had to. I had to know what was going on. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and stepped into the hallway. The bathroom door was cracked open, but it was dark inside. The whispering stopped the moment I stepped into the doorway, and for a moment, I thought maybe I'd imagined it. Then I saw it. The mirror. It wasn't the same as before. The reflection was wrong. The room looked normal, but there was something standing in the corner of the reflection. A man. His face obscured by shadows, but his eyes, I can still remember them. They were wide, unblinking, staring directly at me. And that's when I realized his reflection wasn't moving. I stumbled back, my heart racing as the realization hit me. The man in the mirror wasn't me. It wasn't a reflection at all. It was something else. I ran out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind me, and didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I tried to brush it off. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe it was some kind of weird trick of the light. But the more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that something was wrong. I had to get to the bottom of it. I started digging into the history of the building. The landlord wasn't exactly forthcoming with details, but I managed to find a few things. The apartment complex had been built in the 1950s, but there was very little information about what had happened in the years before the vacancy. However, I did find one strange tidbit. There had been a tenant in the apartment directly before mine, a man named. He had lived there for nearly 15 years, and by all accounts, he had been normal, just a quiet guy who kept to himself, but his neighbors had said that after a while, he began to act strangely. He would spend hours staring into the bathroom mirror, muttering under his breath. No one really knows what happened to him. He just disappeared one day, leaving everything behind. His landlord claimed he hadn't paid rent for a few months and was gone without a trace. But what I found most disturbing was that there were rumors, whispers, about a strange incident involving before his disappearance. Some said he had gone mad. Others said that he had seen something in the mirror. And that's where the story became unsettling. I went back to the apartment, determined to figure out what was going on. That night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror again, trying to see if I could catch a glimpse of whatever I had seen before. At first, nothing happened. The room reflected as it always had. But then, as I stared at my own reflection, I saw something shift in the corner of the mirror. Just like before, the man was back. His face was still hidden in shadow, but this time, I could see more of him. He was tall, with ragged clothes that looked old and worn, and his eyes, those wide, unblinking eyes, were locked on me. I couldn't breathe. I reached out toward the mirror, and as soon as my fingers brushed the glass, the man's reflection smiled. It wasn't a smile of happiness, but one of pure malice. My body froze. I couldn't move, couldn't look away as the man stepped closer to the edge of the mirror, his form becoming clearer and clearer. I could see his face now. It wasn't Richard Parker, but someone else, someone far older, with hollow eyes and a twisted, cracked mouth that seemed to stretch unnaturally wide. His skin was pale, like it had never seen the sun, and his fingers twitched with an unsettling rhythm, as if beckoning me. I tore myself away from the mirror and slammed the door shut. I sat in the living room for hours, shaking, unable to look away from the bathroom. It was as though something was waiting for me in there. I couldn't tell if it was the man or something else entirely, but I couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. I packed up what I could that night and moved out the very next day. I didn't even bother with the landlord. I left everything behind, the apartment, the mirror, everything. I told myself I would never come back, but here's the thing. Every time I close my eyes, I see him, the man in the mirror.